Hey everybody, welcome back to Twin Cities Live. You know, January is National Slow Cooking Month. I did not know that. And it's National Soup Month, and I guess it all makes sense. You know, what could be better on a cold day than curling up with a nice bowl of soup?
So good. Ashley Kramer is here. She is from the Minnesota Beef Council. She always brings us delicious things. And today she has 3 hearty slow cooker recipes that are perfect for even the coldest of days. Ashley, nice to have you here.
Good to see you, and you made our studio smell so good.
Don't you feel like when you set up the slow cooker, you've like done something so kind for your future self? Like your future self is so happy with you.
Well, it's so easy. You just toss together in the morning, and then you come home from work, and you're like, you know, I've had a long day. But it's like, wait a second, I already have supper ready.
I know. Yeah. You don't have to think about it. Okay, so you've got a few recipes. I also love how you're serving some of them in mugs.
Yes.
So this first one is a beef tortilla soup. This is such a good switch out because a lot of people are familiar with like a chicken tortilla soup, but what are you doing with the beef?
So this one actually utilizes a brisket, which is unique because a lot of people maybe just smoke brisket, but we're going to put it in a soup with this one. So we're actually just going to braise it in a we're going to brown it in a stock pot on all sides, and then once it's all browned, take it out, put some onions in there, some cumin, some garlic, make sure that's all fragrant, and then put that brisket back in. Cover it with all of your wet ingredients. You're going to have some tomatoes, some salsa, some broth, and then you let that just stew for about 3 hours.
No kidding.
And then it really tenderizes that beef. So the great thing about low and slow is that you can take a less tender cut of beef and then put it on low and slow on the stove or in a crock pot, and it turns into a super tender result.
Okay, so when you say low and slow, it's not a rolling boil. Rolling boil?
Rolling
boil?
Yeah.
Is it just a simmer? Like, are you going to have to add more ingredients after 3 hours? Because it seems like that's a long time for it to be on the stove.
So the reason we do low and slow is it's a low temperature, but for a long period of time, and that's what breaks down those muscle fibers in the beef and makes it more tender.
Because brisket is tough like that.
It is a pretty tough cut, but because you do it on the stove for a longer period of time, it really cuts it down. So then actually you're going to bring it up to a boil just to make sure it's up to temperature, and then turn it down, let it simmer for those 3 hours. And then once that brisket is tender and you've shredded it and put it back in, we actually put some corn in there as well, because otherwise some of the ingredients would overcook over 3 hours, right? So then you add that in at the end, and then you can put your toppings of choice on here.
Oh, this is very
fun. Super simple, really.
Can I just add a few things?
Yeah, so add a few things. We have some tortilla chips. You could also make them homemade if you want.
Okay.
I did do store-bought ones.
Great.
And then we have some finely shredded cheddar cheese.
Can I pick up some avocado?
Yep, pick up some avocados and put that on there. And so it's kind of like a Southwest type of flavor.
Yeah, it smells so good.
You know, and if you wanted maybe like ground beef, you could maybe do that as well instead of the brisket. But I think the brisket really gives it an enhanced flavor.
Yeah, this is and that brisket really is falling apart.
I know. So good. And then as that brisket breaks down, though, then that's just flavoring that broth even more. So you're getting every single little bit out of the beef.
Yes.
Versus like just smoking it and not really, you know, I mean, that's a great option too, but this like really infuses the broth with that flavor.
It all marinates together as
I love this.
So you really are just taking the whole brisket and just in one piece. You're not quartering the brisket.
Not when you first brown it and when you let it braise in all those liquids, you just leave it whole with the fat cap up. And then it just softens up, and then that's when you can shred it once it's fork tender afterwards.
Oh, I love that. So again, I love the ease of it.
Okay, but now you have some beef in here that you have kind of cubed up. What are we going to put in this slow cooker?
So this is a pot roast soup, which is unique because oftentimes you wouldn't have large chunks of pot roast in a soup, but I think it's great because it makes it more hearty. So this one utilizes a shoulder roast. So again, a less tender cut, but because we're going to put it in a crock pot, it's going to really tenderize it. So I'm going to have you add the ingredients, both of you, as we're discussing what's all in it.
You tell us what to do.
So this is the shoulder roast cut up into cubes. So I'm going to toss that in there.
Okay, this goes right into this guy.
And then we have some chopped up onions.
Do it.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's a lot of onions.
Yeah, it is a lot of onions, but they really
That's
cook
more
down.
than one onion, right? Is that like two
I think it was like 2 cups of onions that we put in there. So about an entire onion.
Okay.
And then we have some frozen hash brown cubes.
Pro tip.
Yep, super smart.
Yep, super smart. Then you don't have to, cube the potatoes yourself. Just buy them frozen.
I know.
And then we have some minced garlic.
Okay. I don't know if you need that spoon, bud.
Yeah, we'll just mix it.
Yeah, mix it all together. And then some pepper.
Okay.
Some salt.
This is the trick too. I think the slow cooker,
some thyme.
I do think you need to go like heavy on the seasonings. Like you're doing that here because that's how things end up bland in the slow cooker, is if you're just not adding enough seasonings, enough herbs and stuff.
And you're cooking in fairly large portions too, so you do want to make sure that you're seasoning well.
Yeah.
And then we have a can of tomatoes there.
Okay. And I do like the idea that you don't feel like you have to season the beef before you put it in.
Right.
You know, because that's just time consuming. Just cube it up and just put it all in.
Yep, and then we do have some beef broth that you're going to throw in there as well.
Oh, that's over here.
Looks like beer, but it's not.
Yeah. What's happening here?
I told them before the show, I was like, don't drink it. It's not beer. It is broth.
And that's what this is right here that we're going to try right now.
Yes. So then once that all cooks together, you can put it on high for about 5 to 6 hours or low for 8 to 9. Really marinate those flavors together. It comes out into this pot roast soup.
Oh my God.
And
then you put this in later on as it's almost done.
Yep, so similar to the corn, because you don't want those to get too mushy and overcooked, you're gonna add those in right at the end and let those cook for about a half an hour.
Okay, so that's just the peas and then like a slop.
Yep, a broccoli slop.
It is amazing how much the peas come out in that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's such a good flavor.
You know, and some people don't like peas, which
I
is
love
totally fine.
peas.
You could just omit them, leave them out. But I think this is a great recipe, especially for kids, because those that are picky about their vegetables, maybe this is a good way to sneak those in.
Oh my gosh, this is very good.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of these.
Ashley, we only have a few more seconds, but I wanted to get into this little beauty over here because it's been staring at me this whole time.
How much of a
what do we
portion
have
is
here?
this, Ashley?
It's a pretty big portion, but I like potatoes. Seriously, my family will tell you I eat all of them at Thanksgiving. But anyway, so I decided to give you a big portion.
Thank you.
This is a recipe created in partnership with our friends over at Real Food RDs, and it's beef tips and gravy. So again, this is just like this one where you throw all the ingredients in and it just slow cooks all day long. You have some pearl onions. This one utilizes some stew meat, and then you're gonna put in there some broth and then create like a gravy with it.
I mean, hot diggity.
Ashley, the pearl onions and the mushrooms in there, major
Over
hit.
the potatoes?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you really
That's
knocked
so
it out
good.
of the park
Well, good.
today.
I'm
I
glad
mean,
it
you
tastes great.
always do, but like to put all these in the slow cooker and be one and done.
Yeah, super
You're a winner.
easy, everybody, and they're so delicious. We posted all these recipes on TwinCitiesLive.com. You can find more information about the Minnesota Beef Council, including recipe ideas and meal planning, at the Beef Council's website. It's mnbeef.org.
All the protein, Ben. You
All
know,
the
we
protein.
like
Give it
that.
to me all.